On today's episode, as NFL free agency officially opens, we got a ton to talk about, including the Miami Dolphins poaching another Buffalo Bills player as well. They have just, in the matter of the last 20 minutes, beefed up their interior defensive line. We'll talk about that. Also, I've got an exclusive update in regards to Patrick Surtain the second and the rumors and rumblings you've heard on X about the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk about that. We've got so much to cover. Please smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. And are the Miami Dolphins not in play for any big free agents? Let's talk about it.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jaylen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one as free agency officially opens today at 4 p.m. We are about 2.5 hours into free agency, and the Miami Dolphins have made some more moves, albeit not the splash moves we've been accustomed to in the last 48 hours, but they still are filling out the pieces and filling out the roster. Man, we got over 150 of you already in the room. Please smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. I appreciate each and every one of you coming through. Man, it's been, even though it's not going on, it's been a wild day. It's been a wild day. So let's start off with this. I've seen rumblings all over Twitter, X, whatever, about Patrick Surtain, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I have checked in with someone whom I trust a whole hell of a lot that covers the Denver Broncos, that being Benjamin Albright, who he's been out ahead of every move that they've made in Denver this offseason so far. And I was told, and I quote, Patrick Surtain II is 1,000, not 100, 1,000% untouchable. So if they are going to make a move for a cornerback, then it is going to be either a low-cost option in free agency, drafting one, which I don't see them doing, or making a trade for L'Jarius Sneed. Now, in terms of L'Jarius Sneed, everyone saw today they gave the Titans, who were in on L'Jarius Sneed the last 24 hours, they give a 4-year, $92 million contract to Calvin Ridley, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But while Patrick Mahomes restructured and created over $20 million of cap space for the Chiefs yesterday, sounds to me like the Chiefs and L'Jarius Sneed might be trying to work something out. Now, it seems like the Titans have moved on and they've spent their money. We'll see what happens, but that's it's very interesting. Very interesting. So from what I understand, just to reiterate for all of you coming into the room, because we're now climbing up to over 250, from what I understand, for what I've been told by Denver Broncos insider Benjamin Albright, Patrick Surtain is 1,000% untouchable. That's a quote. That's an exact quote. 1,000% untouchable. Shout out to Benjamin Albright, friend of the show. He's been on here a couple times. So he came out and he told me directly that's what the deal is. So all of you that want Patrick Surtain, it is a pipe dream as it stands right now. They might be purging out there, but that is one name that they look as a cornerstone and a foundational piece to build around. So, listen, do I want to trade and pay for L'Jarius Sneed? It's not that overly appealing to me. Now, if you can give them the second round pick and something else, hey, are you going to find a better player at 55 than L'Jarius Sneed? No. And it allows you to play with your secondary even more. Remember, guys, I want you to remember this. Anthony Weaver is coming over from a system that, especially last year, used a lot of 3 safety packages. So, and he's going to probably utilize that himself. So what does that mean? That means if you sign a guy like L'Jarius Sneed, you can put Jaylen in that star role even more prominently. You can have him playing all over, and Cam Smith and L'Jarius can be the ones that are there for you when Jaylen ain't man in the corner and you're tinkering with where he is. Those are the two that can man the corner for you. And L'Jarius Sneed is younger, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're moving on from Jaylen in a couple years, L'Jarius is now your number one. I do not see them. Now I see Eminem asked, this is a name that I've seen floating around. Is Justin Simmons in play? No. Not as far as I know. What did I say yesterday and what have I said the last couple of days? Even when we signed Jordan Poyer, I still said Deshaun Elliott makes a ton of sense to bring back because he's going to be cheap. He's worked with Weaver, et cetera, et cetera. Justin Simmons wants top-tier free safety money. They are not going to give him top-tier free safety money and he's not looking for a one-year deal. They are not going to give him that kind of, unless the market completely dries up and he's only getting cheap one-year deals, then they'd be in there. But for the current money he's asking for, teams are rumored to be moving off of Justin Simmons because of the money he's asking for. That's why the Eagles moved on to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, because of the money that Justin Simmons is asking for right now. And rightfully so. He's a top 5 safety in the NFL. But I just do not see us Holland, and the big money at safety is going to be trying to go to Holland this offseason. So, Patrick Surtain, Justin Simmons, pipe dreams, not happening. I wouldn't even give them a 5% chance as it stands right now. Would Chase Young be that bad of an idea? Chase Young wants a bag right now. That's why you saw San Fran move on to Leonard Floyd. They want the bag right now. Chase Young wants to get paid. He had a good playoff run. He wants to get paid. So that's where we're at right now. All right. So I wanted to talk about Patrick Surtain, and you brought up Justin Simmons, Eminem, and that's been flown around. So thank you for bringing that up. Also, Mac Hollins to the Buffalo Bills. I know that's going to hurt some Dolphin fans. And there are the Ravens, Jason LaConforna and other sources have come out and said that the Ravens inquired about trading for Deebo Samuel. So for all of you guys looking at what they're doing in Baltimore right now, I don't think they're going to get Deebo. I think Deebo's untouchable. But I have heard rumblings that they want to keep Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco, and they might value Brandon Ayuk a little bit more than Deebo. So we'll see how that all works out. But I'm going to cover that night when we're going to cover that when we get to all of it. I want to talk about this. I want to, as the people on X are saying now, I want you to walk with me for a minute here. Okay? Today, a player was released that I think the Miami Dolphins should be targeting. If you can get him on a low-cost, short-term deal, I would be targeting Hunter Renfrow as the wide receiver 3 for the Miami Dolphins. I think that should be a play. Hunter Renfrow, wide receiver 3, Miami Dolphins. He is perfect for the slot. I mean, what did they call him in Clemson? What was his nickname in Clemson? third and Renfrow. Okay? He will get you the third downs. 2 years ago, he was coming off 1,000-yard season. What's happened since then? Talk about a guy who suffered from poor quarterback play. Aiden O'Connell, Jimmy Garoppolo. Who do we want to sit here and name? And you're telling me Wes Welker wouldn't love a guy like Hunter Renfrow in that room? All day, every day. You know me. If you've been watching me and you've been watching this channel, everyone knows I'm a Hunter Renfrow guy. Before he signed that extension with the Vegas Raiders, I wanted Hunter Renfrow in Miami. I am a Hunter Renfrow guy. I am telling you right now, Hunter Renfrow, that is a move right there. And that is a move that could make it a movie in Miami. You're talking about a guy, too. He's still only 28. He's still only 28, and he's a Pro Bowler. Former Pro Bowler. All day, every day. Hunter Renfrow would be a home run. And guess what? Wouldn't count against compensation picks. He was released. Wouldn't even hurt it. And that gives us even more flexibility between 21 and 55. Now we don't got to stress about finding that third weapon. And now Izakama can settle in at wide receiver 4 in his first potentially, hopefully, crossing fingers, first fully healthy season. It lets Izakama. Oh, man, I'm telling you. I am telling you right now. You give me Hunter Renfrow. You give me Hunter Renfrow right now, and I am happier than a pig rolling around and you know what. Come on. That's the guy. That's the slot guy we all thought Berrios could turn into in this offense. Hunter Renfrow will be that guy. Sign me up. Sign me up. Please. Give me Hunter Renfrow, baby. Come on. I ain't out here asking for much. I'd rather see Skylar Thompson as backup. Why bring in Jimmy G? No. I'm good on Jimmy G. I've never been a fan. I'd rather roll with Skylar Thompson. I'm not even just saying that. But I digress. Hunter Renfrow all day. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me. So let's get into it. We got a lot of news to go over here. A lot of news. So let's start off as we always do. We go chronologically from when our last show ended yesterday to where we at. By the way, I want to thank you all. We were over 10,000 views on yesterday's video. The 2 videos we did on Monday are each over 8,000 views. I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting the channel during free agency. We're over 450 of you in the room right now. We've already dropped a little nugget about Patrick Surtain being 1,000% untouchable with the Denver Broncos, as I've heard privately. Now let's continue on and let's get into everything that's happened. And we'll start off with a why, Greer, why. Potentially the only deal I don't like so far that we've made. That he's throwing up the peace sign, and I feel like we're going to be throwing up the peace sign to Salvon Ahmed come September anyways. But the Dolphins are re-signing Salvon Ahmed on a 1-year deal, 5th season in Miami. I mean, okay, why? I want Chris Brooks to be given opportunities over this guy. Well, what are we doing right now? Bringing back the Jakeem Grant to the running back room? The offseason warrior, the offseason hero, who when we get into the crux of the season, is that what we're doing right now? Is that what we're doing right now? I'm not a fan of this move. This is the first move I haven't liked that we've made, which says a lot because we've made over a half dozen moves, and this is the first one I don't like. So that just basically says about how good I think they've been in free agency so far. Not a fan. Not a fan. I mean, again, he's saying you're throwing up the peace sign right now. We'll be doing that to him probably in September as he goes to the practice squad or is just completely cut. Not a fan. I just don't think, what are we saying here? Huh? What do we, like, I don't know. I get there's a love here, I get I get that there's a love between, McDaniel, because McDaniel and Shanahan brought him in when he was the run game coordinator over there, but like, what are we doing here? I'm just I'm not a fan. Not a fan. So it is what it is. You tell me, huh? You tell me. You know what who he reminds me of? You know who he actually kind of reminds me of? I'll be honest with you guys. He reminds me of a better version of Kalen Ballage. That's what he is. He's a better version of he's a little bit more of a football player than Kalen Ballage was. And we all saw how that worked out. And we all know where I was with Kalen Ballage. But I would rather give reps to Chris Brooks than to Salvon Ahmed. That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. And what I'm really shocked about, this team has not made a move with Jeff Wilson Jr. I am shocked he's still on the roster. After the usage we saw last year and how reluctant they were to go to him. Interesting. Now, moving on from Salvon Ahmed to a little bit more news. All right? The deal with Ahmed is getting done as expected, though nothing is signed. Though Miami is working on trying to keep a few other of its incumbent free agents, including Braxton Berrios. So the Miami Dolphins, please pivot. Please pivot. Go check on Hunter Renfrow. Please go check. Braxton going to cost minimum, but why? What did he didn't do anything. And this was a guy, I loved that signing. And he did not live up to my expectations last year. He disappeared. He didn't change. He didn't move the needle on special teams at all. Now I see someone in the chat. Mark says, "Hey, Reason, what about J.K. Dobbins?" That was reported by ML Football, right? I don't know ML Football to be a trusted source. I haven't heard sources come out, like legitimate people in the media, and say, hey, J.K. Dobbins to Miami. So that's why I'm not really addressing that. And see, this is, again, because all of the ball, that's incorrect, sir. See, why do I always got to do this with these people that don't know what the hell they're talking about? It's the same argument that tight ends won't get targets in this system. Let's play a little game, shall we? I always got to do this. Because people don't know what the hell they're talking about, but they want to come in here and act like they know what they're talking about. And I'm talking about this because the ball was all going to Hill. Okay? Tagovailoa threw the ball 560 times last year. Only 171 of those were targeted to Tyreek Hill. Only 104 targets went to Jaylen Waddle. So let's add them together. That's 275 targets for Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. That means there's another 385 targets to go around, sir. So don't sit there and tell me all the balls were going to Tyreek Hill when there's another 385 targets going around between him and Waddle. And if you don't count Waddle, there's about another 489 targets going around. If you don't count Waddle. So this whole notion that all the time, it's a lie. I don't know who's, you don't even have to do much research. The box score enthusiasts can't even get this right. So that is incorrect. Thank you very much. Point proven. This is why I've been saying why a tight end makes sense in this system. Thank you very much. Now, let's get into the crux of it. Here's something interesting. Barry Jackson says he checked, and the Dolphins to this point haven't been in the mix for high-priced free agent defensive tackles. This was at 11:39 a.m. today, and that went on being verified as we go on here. After bypassing Wilkins, they have inquired about starters who would make decent money. Starters needed to replace Wilkins, obviously, and nose needed to replace Raekwon in some packages. So there you go. The Miami Dolphins, and I think this kind of speaks widely across the board here. They are not interested in high-priced free agents. They let Wilkins walk for $27.5 million, and they're not even looking at guys that are making over $15 million. So, I'm sitting here watching this, and the Miami Dolphins are not interested in big free agent splashes. And I would, this is the right, here's the thing, and this is what I've been saying. You can't justify bringing in someone new and paying more to that person than Zach Seiler or Sealer, however you want to pronounce it. It's the same thing with Wilkins. See, people only think about they want the players they like to get the bag. Well, if you give the bag to to Christian Wilkins, then Zach Sealer's going to turn around and say, that guy's making like $17 million more than me, and we have identical numbers. I want new money. Then now you're into that issue. Now that Wilkins is gone, you really think we're going to spend more money on a guy than what Zach Sealer's making? It's not happening. It's just not happening. Zach Sealer, he is the ceiling on our interior right now. They're not going to bring in someone and pay him more, pay that person more. It'll send a bad message. They're not going to do that. And it makes sense as we see as the day went on, the move they eventually did make. So, and we're going to get to it. Don't worry. We're coming to it. Don't you worry, people. We're coming to it. All right? We got a few things to discuss before we get to it because we're going chronologically. Yeah, Psycho. I've been rooting for Hunt. Give me Hunter all day, baby. Give me Hunter all day. Ryan, I think you could get to Tavon Sweat at 55. I don't think you'd have to draft him at 21. If you're looking for defensive tackles that are going the first round, I think your best shot is Jerzan Newton and Byron Murphy. Those are probably going to be the two guys that go in the first round. So, all right. Let's keep going here. And Rome Gray points it out, like I pointed out to you also, Sealer was a UDFA who got cut from the Ravens, right? And, hey, he's been there. He's going to be perfect for us. He's going to be perfect for us, man. I'm telling you. Zach Sealer going to have a big year, even without Christian Wilkins. Watch. Shout out to the new tight end in Aqua and Orange. Jonnu Smith had his introductory today, and he said on Tagovailoa, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. One of, if not the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. Great player, great leader. And Jonnu, the haters who were trying to diss you when we made this signing are going to hate on you even more. But I'm here to say, that's my tight end, baby. That's my tight end. People out here lying on Jonnu Smith like they're lying on Jordan Brooks, saying what? People out here trying to tell you Jonnu Smith can't block. People out here trying to tell you Jordan Brooks can't cover. I don't know where these people get these narratives from, but it ain't from watching film. Knight says, $5. Do you see the report that Berrios and Elliott are being looked at for a return? Hey, man, I just covered it. And, I've been saying Elliott for a few days. I've been saying bring back Elliott for a few days. Even when we brought back Poyer. And let's talk about that. Jordan Poyer. People are out here trying to convince you that Jordan Poyer's deal is a bad deal. Are you crazy? Are you crazy right now? People out here, remember we didn't get it while we were live. We didn't get the numbers while we were live, right? We didn't get the numbers, but now that we have the numbers, are you crazy people trying to tell you that the Jordan Poyer deal was a bad move? Are you crazy? Are you absolutely crazy? Because, you know, like, I don't know these people who are trying to lie to y'all and not tell you the truth out here that this ain't a good move. But if you didn't see, the deal is, you know, I think Adam Schefter is the one who reported it. I'll bring it up here for you guys so you can see it. But we got Jordan Poyer for an absolute steal. Absolute steal. That was a no-brainer type of move with Jordan Poyer. Unbelievable. That was a fantastic move. Because the word on the street with Jordan Poyer is that it's a 1-year, $2 million deal. That's the word on the street, that it's 1 year, $2 million for Jordan Poyer. Are you kidding me right now? Who wants to sit there and tell me that's a bad move? That is a fantastic move by the Miami Dolphins. Absolutely fantastic move. So, you know, and he's coming to play and he's coming to ball. But the word on the street is it's a 1-year, $2 million deal for Jordan Poyer. How can anyone say that's a bad move? How can anyone in their right mind look you guys dead in the face and say that's a bad move? How? You tell me. $2 million a season? Give me a break. That's an absolutely fantastic move. I'm sorry. I can't sit here and tell all of you in good faith and in good conscience that this is a bad move. $2 million? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. $2 million for Jordan Poyer all day. Come on. That is a good move. That is a fantastic move. All right, now further on something we talked about yesterday. Barry Jackson says, seen retweets claiming Louis Riddick said Connor Williams will retire. Riddick today conveyed he hasn't heard, doesn't know anything definitive. He said on TV he has a bad ACL injury. There may be some speculation as to whether or not he's going to continue playing football, and Connor Williams' camp hasn't commented. I got nothing to add to this except I told you guys, all my Patrons and my channel members, whether it was under the community tab for channel members or whether it's for Patreon exclusive info, I've been telling all y'all what the deal was. I told each and every one of you that I heard they believed it was worse than just a simple ACL injury. And here we are. So there's the exact quote of what he said. He said there may be some speculation as to whether or not he's going to continue playing football. Now he's kind of backtracking a little bit. You know why? Because Drew Rosenhaus and his camp hit him up and said, yo, shut your mouth. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. So, Connor Williams, we can consider to speculate, but it looks like we don't need to because we are going to be moving off of him. So, we've already moved off him with Aaron Brewer. And, you know, it's funny. All these people trying to hate on this Aaron Brewer signing. Y'all all thought Connor couldn't switch from left guard to center. And what did these guys make him into? This system, there is literally not a better system fit in the NFL for Aaron Brewer than coming here. And people are going to be goo-goo gaga over Aaron Brewer after year one. PFF and lists him at 274. Titans list him at about 295. Sure, he's got a little bit. He doesn't have a god-awful anchor, but he does have anchor issues at times. But We're going to see more climbing, more reach blocks, all that kind of stuff. Getting him in space, he'll be fine. And he's dominant in run. So, Aaron Brewer, everyone's going to be, and he can snap. Everyone's going to be in love with him next year. So, I'm not even worried. All right. Lost a top 3 center who's had 2 ACL tears in 4 years, who can't sign with a team right now because it's worse than an ACL tear with what he's dealing with in his knee. That's why he's not signing with a team, because he won't pass medicals, because it'll drive his money down. And by the way, Connor Williams was ranked top 3. Aaron Brewer was ranked top 12. And go watch him against us. Connor Williams was Aaron Brewer was handing Christian Wilkins his ass during that comeback for the Titans. So, and Connor Williams wants $10+ million a year, and his ACL injury is worse than just a simple ACL. And that is why you are not a GM. You would sign a guy who can't pass a physical right now, who wants more than $10 million a year. Not happening in any which way. The only way that ever happens is if this guy gets cleared up and he's cleared and good to go, and his market dries the hell up. So, there you go. Continuing on, the Dolphins have agreed to terms on a 1-year deal with former Bills defensive back and special teams ace Siran Neal. Per source, Neal joins Jordan Poyer as Bills DBs heading to Miami. Why is this good? Because Siran Neal is one of the best gunners in the NFL. Gunners matter. All right? And if you think special team gunners don't matter, I resort to the New England Patriots. Matthew Slater kept getting re-upped over there in New England. Why? Because he's one of the best gunners in the league. Gunners matter. And you know how good of a gunner he is? Look at how good of a gunner KC thought he was. They put 3 men on him. Kansas City put 3 men on Siran Neal to stop him from getting downfield. That's how good he is. This might be Danny Crossman's best special team move since he's been here. This literally might be one of Danny Crossman's best special teams moves since he's been here. He didn't redeem himself with me, but this is the type of move I like. You got 3 on 1. This is what Tyreek Hill, this is triple coverage on a gunner? What is this guy? I see in the chat they say he got the Calvin Johnson treatment. Look at this. Okay? This is a good move. But because it's not a big name, because it's not a big splash, you're going to get these detractors of the Dolphins who claim to be fans, might I add you, that are going to call this a bad move. The same people that'll tell y'all Jordan Brooks wasn't a good move. He can't cover, when I showed y'all clips of him covering Cooper Kupp. There's you can go find them, go watch them against the Bengals. They trusted Jordan Brooks to take Jamar Chase out of the slot. But they'll try to tell you can't cover. Anthony Walker, one of the best zone coverage guys in the NFL. I showed you the analytics. But they'll try to say these moves don't move the needle. That's because these people don't know football and they don't even know who these players are. They've never watched these players before in their life. You know, people who claim to know the draft, they don't know who these players are, and these are players who recently came out. They didn't evaluate them. They don't know because they don't watch film like they claim. So there you go. That's what I got to say about that. Unbelievable. So great move. Great move. And the Miami Dolphins, they were not done there. All right? And that's another thing. People wanted to rag on us getting Shaq Barrett, who's had far more career pressures than Andrew Van Ginkel could ever dream of. Andrew Van Ginkel got more guaranteed money, a longer term. I mean, Shaq Barrett's contract is up to $9 million, meaning it's probably in the $5 to $6 million range when that thing hits over the cap. They're guaranteed $14 million to Andrew Van Ginkel in Minnesota. Not happening. Continuing on here, the Miami Dolphins beefed it up a little bit in the interior. They went and they brought in Neville Gallimore, former third rounder out of Oklahoma, and he reunites with Austin Clark. Listen, I am a fan of this move too in terms of a low cost reward. Am I sitting here doing, am I going to sit here and do a whole bunch of, backflips for you guys? Hell no. But this is a low cost. What did I tell you? They wanted someone to complement Sealer. This was not about starting out with, signing another big name there. Now it was about complementing. So, this is where I'm at. This is a good move. This is a good move. I'm not going to sit here and hate on it whatsoever. So, shout out to this move. Now, continuing on with Neville Gallimore here. I don't know if I know I was decently high on him when he was coming out of the 2020 draft, because he was coming out, obviously, Neville Gallimore, he was coming out of Oklahoma in 2020, went in the third round. I mean, you look at this guy and, his snap count. Now, we're going to be interesting to see where his snap count. I don't think this does not take defensive tackle off the board either for Miami Dolphins at 21 or 55. But you look at a guy, I mean, career highs are in snaps are 422 and 416. He offers you a little bit in the pass rush. He offers you he's a little bit of a decent run defender, right? And 6'2", 302. He can move a little bit. He's got 4 career sacks. So, he had a sack and a half in only 5 games played in 2021. So he's going to probably take on a little bit more of a bigger workload in Miami than he had in Dallas. Now, I'm a fan also because he's Canadian. He's Canadian of Jamaican descent. He's a rude boy. He's a rude boy chasing down the Batty boys. So, I'm a fan of this move. Does it massively move the needle? No. But this is a good, solid addition to the Miami Dolphins interior defensive line. All right? And it gives you a guy that can, a little bit of flexibility, right? He can take snaps at zero tech. Now, you don't want him predominantly as your zero tech, but he can take no snaps. He can flex all across that line, right? So it's a decent move here. It's a decent move. He's worked with Austin Clark. There's some familiarity there, like they mentioned here. They've trained together, like it says in the tweet. So, this is a decent, low-cost reward to get another. One thing I like about this, see, this is what I like. Anthony Walker, Jordan Brooks, Neville Gallimore, right? Jordan Poyer. They're adding dogs to this room. They are adding dogs to this room right now. You think Jordan Poyer, you really think he ain't going to be motivated to show the Bills what they missed out on? I'm just saying, we are adding dogs. We're not adding around guys that joke around and, they make a play and then they tell a joke to the player on the other side and quarterbacks aren't taking them serious. No. I meant in terms of chasing them down and taking them out. I don't mean get your mind out of the gutter. I don't mean chasing them down for romantics. I mean he's a rude boy chasing down and taking out the Batty boys. That's what I mean. So, and, look, like, this is a good move. And Barry Jackson tweeted out a couple minutes ago that agent Richard Roberts told him it's a 1-year deal for Neville, and he turned down a bit more elsewhere. He wants to play here and work with Austin Clark, with whom he has a good relationship over many years. And he will, and it says, will compete at Wilkins spot, can also play nose tackle like I told you guys. So I'm a fan. That's a decent, low risk, potentially high reward move for the Miami Dolphins. I'm a fan. Now, we go over this every day. Let's see what's on the agenda today. We'll go through more updates than we have normally, but it's behind a paywall. Here we go for each and every one of you. So let's start off. All right, here you go. The Miami Dolphins. This is the live free agency update on the Miami Herald. So I'm going to go over for you starting earlier, getting to where we are right now. All right. Again, you're just box score. You're literally just box score looking on stats. Why don't you go look at how many snaps he's had? He's never had over 430 snaps in a season. Okay. So relax. Again, people who can't watch film are in the comments commenting. 7:28 a.m. Jerome Baker is visiting with the Tennessee Titans. Miami released Baker last week in a move that saved about $9.8 million. While a return wasn't ruled out, the Dolphins are moving on after agreeing to terms with Brooks. So there you go. Jerome Baker, he is checking it out. And, there you go. There you go. Goodbye. There you go. Confirmed Salvon Ahmed getting his 1-year deal. It's a veteran minimum at $1.125 million. Includes up to $167,000 in per game roster bonus. Continuing on here, not only are the Dolphins poised to receive third-round compensatory picks in the 2025 draft after losing Wilkins and Robert Hunt, but Miami is also positioned to receive a 6th-round pick after losing Raekwon Davis to the Colts. The Dolphins could end up losing one or more of those picks if they sign a similar number of free agents to similar contracts, which is unlikely. When Miami signs free agents who are simply released by other teams, that doesn't count towards the compensatory pick formula. So Miami lost nothing by signing street free agents Smith, Poyer, and Barrett. This is why I keep saying, get, Erick Armstead. If you're going to make a splash at defensive tackle, Erick Armstead is where I'd go. Want to make a splash at receiver? Hunter Renfrow is where I'd go. Now, noon update, a little bit more on Connor Williams for you guys. Connor Williams intends to play again after December's knee injury remains a question. His agency declined to comment on the issue on Wednesday morning. Louis Riddick said Wednesday that he hasn't heard anything definitive on the matter after saying this on television on Tuesday. Before Connor Williams got hurt late in the season on Monday night, a game against the Titans, the guy was an absolute monster. He's big, strong, he's physical. He's a guy that can play in zone or gap scheme. This is the kind of dude who's really a foundational piece. He had a bad ACL injury, significant knee injury late in the season. There may be some speculation as to whether or not he's going to continue playing football. This is a guy who, for me, would be the kind of foundational piece on the inside that you're looking for. So, asked recently if Williams has communicated if he wants to play again, GM Chris Greer said no. He just wants time to rehab and focus and get his mind clear, and we're giving him that space. We just told him there's no pressure on him. We'll communicate with him, and his agent will communicate with us at the appropriate time. In the meantime, Miami this week moved forward with a new center, Tennessee's Aaron Brewer, who can also play guard. But Williams began his career at guard for the Dallas Cowboys before moving to center with the Dolphins. PFF rated him one of the best 2 centers in football this past season before his knee injury in December. If we're going by PFF grades, Aaron Brewer is ranked the 11th best center in the NFL by PFF. He allowed only 1 sack and rated highly as a run blocker. So there might yet be an opportunity for a return to the Dolphins at some point next season if both sides decide they want that and if Williams is able and wants to play this season. So there is some legitimate uncertainty around if he's going to be able to play this season. 102, the Miami Dolphins introduced Jonnu Smith on a Zoom call. 209 is when we signed Siran Neal. 4 o'clock is when the season started. 406, the Vikings announced Van Ginkel. 410, we officially announced the release of Xavien Howard. Now, this is interesting here. We released him with a failed physical designation. What does that mean? That means Howard missed this season's final 2 games with a foot sprain. The move will save $18.5 million in cap space, but cannot be used until later as it's a post-June 1st cut. But the failed physical designation triggers a $4 million injury guarantee that will be offset after he signs with a new team. Here's how it would work. Hypothetically, if Howard remains unsigned on, say, June 3rd, Miami would be able to use only $14.5 million of cap savings. The other $4 million in cap space wouldn't become available to Miami after he signs somewhere else. So we need him to sign somewhere else to get the full 18.5. Right now it's 14.5 because of the injury designation. The NFL also announced a list of free agents from each team, and while wide receiver Cedric Wilson is an unrestricted free agent, he will not count towards any compensatory pick formula because his contract was voided on February 16th. Miami reworked his contract last year and replaced the final year of the original 3-year deal with a void year. There you go. So, and then the Dolphins at 5:22 announced the signing of Siran Neal. At 6:30, they agreed to a deal with Neville Gallimore. The deal confirmed by league source gives Miami depth and a possible starter if needed in the wake of Christian Wilkins going to the Raiders and Raekwon committing to the Colts. There you go. 27 had 90 tackles, including 11 for a loss, as well as 4 sacks and 3 passes defended in 4 seasons for the Cowboys. 6'2", 302-pound Gallimore appeared in 52 games and started 14 over his 4 years in Dallas. Last season, he had 16 tackles in 17 games and 288 defensive snaps, but didn't start a game. Pro Football Focus rated him 69th out of 130 defensive tackles in the website's evaluation of 2023. So there you go. There is the latest up to the minute. And I'm going to tell you, don't sleep on Neville Gallimore, because how many of you slept when we signed Zach Steeler? Did you think Zach Steeler would be at the level he's at right now? All right. Look at, he basically ranked in the middle of the league, and he wasn't even given a great amount of a decent amount of snaps. Just saying. So, and again, I wouldn't take PFF's grades and ratings to heart. Players rip on them, even though their agents will use them in negotiations. You can blame Chris Collinsworth. But I've told y'all before, back in 2020, 2021, I did a little work for PFF. I saw how they work behind the scenes. I would not put a ton of stock into those grades. They are mostly done by volunteers, people who are not paid but are asked to work about 24 to 30 hours a week free. And back then, I don't know if it's changed then. I know last year when people got into it with them, they said it hadn't changed, but they don't even use all 22. They use broadcast film. When I did a few games for them, I got sent broadcast film. So I wouldn't put, I've said this before, I show the grades on Monday for all of you guys, not for me. I tell you guys, I always preface grades. If they don't match your eye test, throw them out the window. Trust your eye more than you could have a Bills fan grading a Dolphins game. Throw that out the window, okay? All right? And they've only really given you their grading formulas on how they grade quarterbacks. They don't give you their grading formulas on how they grade interiors, linebackers. They just don't. So, trust me, you're better off. Personally, the only thing I take away from PFF is I like their analytics. And even those are a little shoddy. They don't even count half sacks. PFF doesn't count half sacks. What kind of world are we living in that you don't count half sacks? All right? So, and I show you every week. What do I show you? Just for passing alone. I show you PFF's passing chart and the next gen passing chart. Remember, next gen stats, they have like chips and stuff in the footballs. No one knows the numbers like Next Gen Stats. They have players in their pads chipped up, okay? And the passing charts never fully align with the PFF passing charts never fully align with Next Gen. So that tells you all you need to know, all right? So, a little draft talk here for you guys, all right? A little draft talk for each and every one of you. A player we've talked about on this channel. Remember, I was a huge fan of Luke Lachey coming out of Iowa. He decided to go back after his injury. I think he's going to be my top tight end on the board next year. But Erick All, his compadre in Iowa, has top 30 scheduled visits with the Dolphins, the Bengals, and the Vikings. Now, I know the first question is going to ask, what do you think about Erick All? You've been talking about tight ends all year. I think, this is them looking for a day 3 tight end. All right. He is in my top 10. I will give you that. I think this is looking at a day 3 guy. You're not taking him at 55. That's for sure. So I think this is doing their due diligence on a potential day 3 guy with Erick All. Now, in terms of what I think of Erick All, the player, I'm a fan of Erick All. He does some good things for sure when you break down his game. It's just, I'm so hot up on, I'm so caught up on Luke Lachey. You know what I mean? It's all good though. It's all good. But what if you could get him in the 5th? I think that would be an absolute phenomenal steal. Absolutely phenomenal steal in terms of Luke Lachey. You're talking about a guy, he only had 34 targets last year, had 21 receptions on those, had 3 touchdowns on those 21. He can catch the football. He can make plays. He's a really, really good blocker. This is an interesting little tidbit for you guys because we've been talking about him on this channel for months. I feel like we've been talking about him for months on this channel. I really do. I just think, you look at this guy, like the targets weren't up there, but you look at him, he's got reliable hands, can make plays in traffic. The Dolphins will love him because he can, he might have only had 21 receptions, but he feasted over the middle. That's for sure. Right. Where am I at with him? Now Erick All, he is, I believe, isn't he also recovering from an ACL injury? He has an ACL injury. I'm pretty sure that he was recovering from last year. But you look at him, we're talking about some serious upside with this kid. You really are. He missed most of 2022 because he had that ACL injury, and then he missed like half of last year. But he had, 290, almost 300 yards. He had 299 yards on those 21 catches. 6'4", around 255, long arms. And listen, he's got to improve a little bit as a route runner. But he's a guy who late in the draft on day 3, if you could snatch him in round 5, you could have a guy with potentially high upside. Potentially high upside with him when you look at Erick All. All right, and I just got to say this finally. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I've been advocating on this channel. You need to get Jaylen Waddle extended. All right? We talked about it a little in the opening. Calvin Ridley's money. $23 million a year. 4 years, $96 million. But here's the kicker. 50 of that is guaranteed. Why does that matter? Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Tyreek Hill has the most money ever guaranteed to a receiver. Calvin Ridley came in only $2.5 million below that. This is going to blow up. This market is going to blow up. This market is going to blow up. You need to get Jaylen Waddle extended. And it needed to happen when I started talking about it. Because Jaylen Waddle tweeted out that deal for Calvin Ridley. Something like good for C-Rid or C-Rid or something like that. Now, EJS here, aside from the draft, what is the plan for guards? I've been telling y'all. Y'all have been listening. I've said to you guys, I see Simon from 3 yards per carry jumped on my bandwagon yesterday because I've been saying this. And he tweeted it out yesterday after I did a show where I said multiple things. And then he tweeted out those same things onto X after the fact. Now, I've been saying these two things for weeks now. I'll reiterate. The only offensive lineman these guys are taking at 21, I don't think they're taking a Jackson Powers-Johnson. They're not going to take an interior player. What I've been saying for multiple weeks are two things. One, they will take an offensive tackle that can play left guard for year one and kick back out. I've heard they like Barton. I've heard they like J.C. Latham. But I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, and my chat can contest to it, Amarius Mims, when you watch the testing and when you look at the testing and when you watch the film, that's the one that screams Chris. The quote I've been using for weeks upon weeks is Amarius Mims screams Chris Greer. And I saw Simon Clancy from 3 yards per carry tweeted out both those takes yesterday, which I've been saying up here for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's what that plan is. Now, what no one's talking about, and maybe someone will see this and run to Twitter and try and get ahead of me, but I've already been saying this for weeks since we found out that number, so now we're into weeks. When you look at the cap hit being elevated to over $4 million for Liam Eichenberg, that is your option at right guard. They extended, or re-signed, I should say, Robert Jones, who was an RFA. I think the battle at right guard is going to be Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg, Aaron Brewer at center, and then via the draft or free agency, they are going to bring back a left guard, and Isaiah Wynn is still very much in play. So that's what I think your deal is at guard right now. Look at either a tackle that could kick in at left guard for year one until Armstead goes. Maybe a guard is there in round 2. Maybe. Look for them to potentially bring back Isaiah Wynn no matter what. And then at right guard, look at it for to be Eichenberg and Robert Jones battling. Because remember, Eichenberg told all of us he felt most comfortable at right guard. And then when you look at the film, some of his best film last year was at right guard. That's where that's what I could tell you right now, the sense I'm getting with what the guards are. So, yeah. I've been telling y'all, Amarius Mims he looks like a Greer guy. He screams Greer. You look at how he moves, man. It just screams Greer. So, it is what it is. So that's where we're at. All right. Now let's wrap this up. I want to thank each and every one of you coming through tonight. Obviously, I ran it solo. The deal was those, Richmond would be on time, but Ballgame would have been running late. Ballgame's going on a cruise. It's his birthday tomorrow, so everyone in the chat wish Ballgame a happy early birthday. He'll be going on a cruise, and will probably be me again next week for a solo episode instead of Fin Too Deep. Now, further on tomorrow, I'll be live with Neal Driscoll around 5 p.m. as we will be recapping day 2 of free agency officially being open, but the 4th day when you include legal tampering. Please do me the massive favor. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new on your way out. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through on this Wednesday. Happy hump day to each and every one of you. And an update on the content creator episode. When things settle down, I will give you an update. All right? That things are just way too hectic right now. So when things settle down a little bit, we'll do the show. Don't worry. All right? We haven't forgot. Fins up all day, every day until Margaritaville sends a cease and desist our way. Again, thank you all for coming through. Thank you for your support these past couple of days. And let's keep it rolling as we continue to fill out this roster. Me and Neal will see y'all tomorrow as we dive fin too deep. Until then, take it easy, guys, and enjoy your evening.